i ka pua, ula hui ke kanaka e ola mau i ka lewa. E ola mau i ka honua, e ho'opunu mau i ka ua ka aina, e ola mau i ka wau kele alaila. Mohala i ka pua, ola hui ke kanaka e ola mau i ka lewa, e ola mau i ka honua, e ho'opunu mau i ke ua ka aina, e ola mau i ke wau kele alaila. Mohala i ka pua, ola hui ke kanaka e Heilei, heilei, hoi. Mai nā kupuna mai, mai nā oiwi mai. Heilei, hoi. Heilei, e nā mō kupuni o Hawaiian. Nā Hawaii, Molokai, Kauai, Maui, Ko'olawe, Anipau, a me nā moko e ape, heilei hoi, me ka mana, manani, ho'o mai ka'i, heilei hoi. Eia ka lei, me ke aloha, me ka lokai, a me pana, heilei hoi, me ko'u papa, me ake inu, heilei hoi. E kale. Mai ke ia, halau, lokahi. Halau i ke pana. Me nā po'e Hawaii, me nā hamana apau, me nā kumu, mai kupuna mai. Heilei.
If it be all right with all of you, would you come up further? I think you'd feel the impact if you come up closer. And if you need to move tables, go right ahead. I think it's easier for all of you.
Kupuna Butch. Kambo would like to.
Okay, go ahead.
Before we begin today, I just want to welcome all of you to our Aloha lecture series. We're here today to talk about Lāʻau Lapaʻau, and it gives me a great honor to present to you Kupuna Butch Richards, who is an expert on Hawaiian healing, including Lāʻau Lapaʻau, as well as Hawaiian lomi. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin today's presentation. We do have a sign-in sheet that we'd like all of you to just sign in on briefly. We'll be circulating it around starting now. And before the presentation ends today, we also have an eval form that we'd like to ask all of you to fill out. So we'll be distributing this just a little bit before our presentation ends today. With all that being said, here's Kupuna Butch.
Okay, if all of you could just put your writing materials down and maybe form two lines, one straight over here and then the other, those that are here, your backs might be facing me, but face that way, and then everybody line up to whoever's on this side, okay? So would all of you stand and maybe just move the chairs back and form a line here, and then somebody just partner off who's ever in front. Okay, come up a little bit more. No, make a straight line, and then so that you can face her, and then the next person face one another that way, yeah. Okay, and then if you have to go around the corner, just go around the corner a little. For many of you, as you've lived here in Hawaii, there's many ways of greeting one another. And many times there's, I guess, from the start of the Hokulea program and so on, many people have sort of introduced a way of greeting, okay? And most of you, anyone can tell me how that took place when the people from the canoe program started to present themselves to other people. How did they go about doing that? Anybody can recall? Okay, one of the first things they did was put their foreheads together, right? And their noses. Now, I hope many of you know that one, what is of you, you take care of you. None of us know who's gonna pull away from what you have. And so, to me, this is how I do mine. And maybe if you can, just put out your hand this way. Face, no, you just face. Okay? Can you tell me what's happening to your hand? Okay. And so we need not say anything, because truly if we are who we are, we can communicate and without saying anything. Okay? Because to communicate with one another, both she and I would have to be on the same wavelength. And so it's not putting your head against somebody to get that point across. Okay? And so this is why I'm saying to all of you, within you, you have something called mana. Be careful not to just give it away freely. Okay? Protect what you have, because what you have is your knowledge and everything that goes with that. And it's something that has been passed down. And so if some of you was hearing the chanting, and if you looked up, my hand started to change, okay? And so that tells me that my kupuna are here today with me, saying, okay, mo'opuna, we will help you. Okay, so this is what I'm saying to all of you. Protect what you have. Don't be, just one that cares less in what you have, because it's important that what you carry is what you're all about. Okay? So I thank you. You can have your seats and come up closer, so if you want to. Oh, nobody wants to come up here. Over here, reserve seats over here, so if you come up here. Okay, so in starting today, who can first define or say this word and define it for us? Anybody here can say this word and define it for us? Okay, so what does lāʻau mean to you? It means plant, okay? Anybody else? Anyone else? Come on, there's nothing wrong with whatever you're going to say. It's going to be okay, okay? But try to open up. Don't keep everything in, so that we can progress, and I think you'll find what's happening as we go. So anybody else? Leaf? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Now, it's not saying that we're on different boats or what, But to me, as I look at this word, I first see this word. What is this word? What is L-A-A? What's that? Anyone else? Day? Anyone else? Okay? La'a, to me, is to sanctify. Okay? So, if you look at this, you're looking at L-A-A, and then you have A-U. So when you la'a something, or you la'a yourself, what are you doing? You're sanctifying your own self. Okay? And so, as I look at plants, I'm not just looking at plants from the word of just la'au. I'm looking at something that will help sanctify me if I use it right. Okay? Now, as we look at this, you see this word here. Okay? What is this? What is this? Anyone? Okay? Breath of life. What is this?
Water.
And what is that? When you say water, is it just water? What's that? Okay. Why is 3/4 of your body made up of water? And why, if there's anything that the body needs, why is it water that you need? Anyone? You've been in college, what, 2 years, 3 years? Okay? And so, who is this character right here? And who is that? Okay? Some of you might know it as E-O, E-R, E-E. And who is that? E-O, E-R, E-E, Amamau. Okay? And so, do you folks just come from a place that is Hawaii, or is this, what is Ha? The breath of life. What is Vai? For most of you, you might say water. To me, it means wealth. When you're able to bring water into your land, what happens? Everything lives. That is wealth. And that it all comes from, who's that? E-O, E-R, E-E, Amamau. Okay? And so, to all of you, as you walk through the halls of this institution, as you go to various classes, as you appear with your peer groups, teachers, whoever it might be, is this your learning process that you're going through? And that there might be somebody that will share something with you, hopefully, that will take you 1 or 2 steps up higher. Okay? And so, as we look at this entire thing, I hope all of you can understand, do you just live in a place where people move their hands, shake their hips, and so on? Do you see anyone living in thatch houses today? And yet, how many of you think you could live that lifestyle? Anyone here? Okay? Now, teaching in high school, I took my students up to the Ko'olau mountain. They only could use the clothes that they had on. They couldn't take anything else. And they had to learn to survive for 5 days up in the Ko'olau. Okay? Now, how would you transport water with any element that's up there? Anybody? How would you bring back water to me to get checked off that you have found water and you have brought it back to me? Are you going to put it in your mouth and walk all the way back with the water in your mouth? Anyone?
Okay.
What's that? Okay. So, how would you cut the ohe? how would you cut it? With what? You gonna cut with your hand, or you gonna bite with your teeth, or? Okay. Now, you sure a rock can cut it? Anyone? Many of you look puzzled. Okay? How many of you have ever tried? Okay? That yes, you can go with a piece of pohaku, but you have to cut below the what? The node. Okay? So as you cut below the node, you have one portion that will prevent the water from coming out, right? So what happens to the top? How do you create something that the water could flow from the top, but its stopper is still on the bottom? How can you fill that cylinder that's hollowed out to get water in there? Anyone? Most of you have what? Had 2 years, 3 years of college? And so maybe the real test is enough college. Let's get out into the outdoors and live that experience to see what's life all about. Okay? And I told my students, all of you who can go through the whole thing, setting up shelter, getting food, and all of this, will get an A in the class. Many of them came up and said, Mr. Richards, we don't know what an A is. We never got this in our life. Okay? And so what did that mean? That some way somebody has placed within their mind that they are not able to attain a grade of such nature. And so, during that whole episode, can you tell me who do you think survived, the girls or the boys? Anyone? Could you see girls climbing on a tree, trying to break it and bouncing up and down because they're so light? Okay? Now, in this whole pot, let me throw this out to all of you. Who here can tell me, without matches, how can you make a fire? What's that? Okay. Would you come here and rub this and show me how you do it? Okay. Now, can anyone tell me what this is? What kind of wood is this? Guava. Gonna be an expensive guava if this is guava. Okay? This is what is called lama. Okay? And that if you look good, you see the ebony coming out from this wood. Okay? And so, this is not something that every person will ever come across in their life. But if you have the chance and we go up to Mount Ka'ala, you will see the lama growing. Okay? How many of you would know what sandalwood is if you pass sandalwood? Anybody knows what sandalwood looks like? By the smell. Okay? Now, when you pass the tree, unless you cut the tree, would you be able to smell the scent of the wood, right? Other than that, how would you determine that sandalwood? Okay? How about olopua? Any of you have heard of olopua? Okay, so are we city people? Are we mountain people? Or are we book people? Okay? And I hope within your lifetime that many of you will have the chance of going outdoors and exploring, or having people who can take you on the outdoors to introduce you to the real world. Okay? And thanks to my upbringing, I come from the island of Maui. And have any of you heard of a place called Nu'u? Anybody here knows of a place called Nu'u? How many of you know where Kaupo is? Okay? And what's located in Kaupo?
ranch is there.
A ranch.
Big
Okay.
waterfalls and-
For most of you, if you've hiked Haleakala Crater, the only way you can come out is you have to come out from Kaupo Gap, because going back up the trail, you'll never make it back up to the top at Haleakala. Okay? And so you come out, and the only thing that exists in Kaupo really today is that store, and then across the store is a church. And that's about the only two things in Kaupo today. Okay? As you go 2 miles down, you come to a place called Nu'u. Okay? This is where I was raised. We had no plumbing. We had no electricity. So how would any of you collect water or to drink water? Anyone? What's that? Okay, so if you're thinking now, would everybody have tanks? Okay, so how would you collect water? If it's raining at night, how do you collect it?
Leaves run off into a container as like a funnel.
Okay, so if you're looking at an area that's really arid, okay, where would you find these? Where would you find any shrubbery growing in this area called Kaupo? Okay, so you're going to run up the forest, open your mouth, and let it fall inside? Okay? And yet, how many of you would actually go get bamboo, cut it in half, and you have what? 2 split sides? And that hopefully that it will drop within that. And maybe, luckily enough, you might have 1 quart of water. Okay? What's that? Okay, so I mean, if you cut the bamboo, you would have the trough like that it would gather in there, right? So chances are you would save some, okay? Now, how many of you have ever gone out to Waimanalo? And as you've walked out to Waimanalo, what's the first thing that comes up your legs? Nobody's here from Waimanalo? Okay, so what happened? When you walk out in the ocean in Waimanalo, what's one of the first things that happened? Okay, why? Okay, so how do you get the fresh water that seeps up from the ocean? So what is that? I mean, so all Hawaiians had modern devices where they put something in and suck it up? Okay, so how would you improvise? Okay, you sure? How about just getting a gourd, turning it upside down and letting it flow inside? But then when you drink it, it's what? Okay, and so if you're drinking both fresh water and that salt water, what's it doing to your body? It's flushing your whole system out. That if many of you go home tonight, and if any of you can, you know anybody that's out in the ocean that goes 1,700 feet down and get the water from there, it will do all of you justice. Why? Because if you take that pure salt water, one of the first things you would be blowing out your tubes. What does that mean? If you're blowing your tubes, what does that mean? Everything you have consumed thus far in life will all go right out. And that's one of the problems that will affect all of you or mankind. How many of you remember taking an enema or having your grandparents give you an enema? Put up your hands. Okay? Now, people who laugh really didn't understand what was that purpose. Okay? What were your grandparents doing? Cleaning out your system. And so, when was the last time, all of you here today, when did you clean out your system? And so, if you're 20-something years old, for 20-something years, you've been carrying all of this junk in you, and you're going to continue carrying this within you. And so, is this the major problem that mankind is facing today? How do you clean out your whole digestive system? Or are you just loading up, putting all the things in, and creating greater problems for your entire system? Okay? Now, most Orientals, when they eat any foods, especially if they're oily, what do they do before they end their meal? Okay, and so how many of you are drinking tea every day? For your meals, after your meals, or you just as a stimulant to keep you warm in the morning? Okay, and so in this whole pot, how many of you know what is an avocado tree? Have any of you gone there and picked the leaves, taken it, put it in water and boil it, and drink the tea that comes from that? Why? Okay, and so like any person in life, until you try to do things or experiment, do you learn too, right? Okay, that you will find that it will turn into a reddish tea, and that in that tea that you drink, it would be one of the most soothing teas that you'll ever drink in life. How about the leaves of the hibiscus? Any of you pick the leaves and brew that also? How many of you know what is the Hawaiian orange tree? Okay, have you taken those leaves and boiled that? But the only thing you'd have to do is you have to wash the leaves of the orange. Why? Because there's that black film that gathers on the leaves. Okay? Now, how did the people of old know this? What's that? Okay? Now, in a way, you're right. Okay? But can you think now, were the people close to everything that was around the premise, or did they know the purpose of what was growing around where they lived? That how many of you can truly identify at least 10 or more things that's right around your whole property today? Okay, so many times we're putting things that have no purpose, but we're leaving it there because either it has a nice flower or it has a nice scent. Okay, but if you look at Orientals, you look at others, and I think one of the greatest examples of this is Filipinos. That what they do is they grow things around them, their house, so all they have to do is what? Go out and pluck leaves, pluck flowers, and as long as they have fish or chicken, they have a complete meal ready for them. Okay? And so, what's happening to the rest of you? You have to go down to the supermarket and pluck from there. And then it's costing you something to get that. And so, why are you planting grass in your yard? Do all of you eat grass? Why aren't you planting things that you can eat in your yard instead of what? Going down to the supermarket. Right? Does it make sense to any of you? Okay? And yet, how many of you know what is edible today and what's not edible? Anybody here knows what's edible that's out in people's yards? What animals eat grass? Anybody can tell me which animals eat grass? Okay? And you end up eating them too? Okay? So, if animals can live on that, can human beings live on grass too? What is it? Plain chlorophyll, right? But is it the grass that's important, or is it the liquid that comes from the plant? Okay? And so, maybe many of you become millionaires if you can harvest all the chlorophyll. And what? People will sell it. Right? Okay. Now, if we, to me, I don't know about other people, what would the formula be for somebody who wants to learn about Hawaiian medicine? Anyone here? Is there a formula or a certain way to learn about what's medicinal?
Being mentored.
Mentored? Okay. Anyone else? Anybody saw that before? Okay. What is that? Okay. And so, is this the formula to Hawaiian medicine? So, what's a plant that starts with the letter A? What's a plant that starts with the letter E? I-O-U. I don't know if you owe me anything, but okay. He, ke, la, mu, nu, pi, ve. What is the stress that you need for your kahako? What is the okina? What would you place there? To me, this is the formula for Hawaiian medicine. Okay? That's what I feel it is. Because in all of this, if you can name a medicine that is attached to your vowels and your consonants, and then which of these two would give the accent to the medicine you're taking? Okay? Anyone? What's a medicine that you would take that starts with the letter A? What's that? You would take aloe. Anybody else? Okay. What is a liar? The person who tells a lie? What is a lie? You sure? It's not a colloidal? Okay. And is a lie only red? How many of you said blue, have seen blue? How many of you seen purple? How many of you seen yellow? Is it because you only are used to one? And this might be something good for all of you if you ever get up to Mount Ka'ala. Because as we go up, you will see the different colors of alaya all alongside the road. Okay? But it's because you only saw people who mix it with what? Pa'akai? And that there's this reddish color. Okay? And so, in that whole pot, is alaya only red? Okay? And yet, many people are not aware of this, that when you find the yellow one, that people who have AIDS, this is their medicine for AIDS. Okay? Now, did the Hawaiians have AIDS during that time? How did they know that this will take care of people who have AIDS? Okay? And so, in this whole pot, what I'm trying to say to all of you, okay? At what point in your life will many of you start to venture out and find out what is out there that will help save you and other people's lives? Okay? So, if you understand the nomenclature of Hawaiian plants, every plant has 5 different varieties. Okay? And the varieties first start from where? Where's the first spot you're going to find any of the Hawaiian plants? In the ocean. Okay? You start from the ocean. Okay? How many of you know what is vavaiole? What is vavaioli? Called, in common language, it's called what? Rat's foot. Okay? And so you have that in the ocean, vavaioli. Okay? How many of you have been to the florist and you've seen that they put it in, or decorations with flowers? That's the plant type of vavaioli, right? Okay. So what I'm saying is, all Hawaiian plants have 5 varieties. The first variety is always found in the ocean. As you come up to and in the ocean, you're looking at the moana, which is the deep blue, okay? And what's out in the deep blue that might be advantageous for all of us that are here today? From the deep blue, what can you get from the deep blue that might help each and every one of you today that are here? Especially if you're going down 1,500 feet. Okay, that's pure salt water that will clean your entire digestive system out. Okay, and that's, I would say, if any of you are thinking, how can you get your body going back to where it's supposed to be, then try and obtain that pure water from the ocean. Okay, and that you will find that once you clear out your system, that you will be healthier. And many of you who might have, what's a good way of putting it? How many of you have oil deposits? Any of you have oil deposits? Huh? So what is oil deposit? Is that pimples? Okay, and so what causes pimples to come out? What's that? Toxins? Anything else? And so one of the first things that everybody does is what? Squeeze it. And as you squeeze it, then it spreads out a little bit more. Okay? So what's telling you? What's the message when you start breaking out in all of these blemishes? Okay, meaning it's cleaning because it's blocked inside of your system. Okay? Now, anybody here was raised where your parents or grandparents just told you bend over and they found a tube up your back end and then there was this bag hanging from the top with warm water? Okay? And so, how many of you are using that today? None of you. Oh, one? Okay? Maybe you can come demonstrate for us today. Okay? Now, we laugh at it, but how many of us are truly cleaning out our system? Or every day do we just put in, and yet this is the pot that will kill many human beings. Why? Because when it's all what? Okay? But if it's solidified in your system, what's going to happen? You're just going to expand outwardly. Right? Okay. And so until that day that you can clean your system, and this doesn't only take place for adults, it's even taking place for who? Our newborn children. That if you're just putting in, when is it coming out? Okay? And so I hope many of you can understand that we need to learn how to clean out our entire digestive system. Okay? And that the day that you clean it out, you're on the track of being healthy. Okay? Now, how many of you drink at least a gallon of water every day? Why not? Okay? Those of you who are drinking at least a gallon of water, what are you doing? Okay? Anybody, what are you doing when you're drinking water? You're flushing your system again. Okay? I think there's three separate. Okay? So, will it behoove every one of you to start thinking what's happening? Okay? Now, would many of you rather have dispositories? Or would you really want to have a natural way of going about doing it? Okay? Now, as youngsters, how many of you enjoyed eating guavas? Put up your hand. You really enjoyed eating it? Didn't you then find out later that there's a consequence when you did? And so did you need the help of a stick to help get it out? Okay, why? Because it just, what, hardened in there, and if it didn't come out, you'd be crying all night? Okay, and so, how many of you had coconut milk in the foods that you've eaten? Okay, and could you control many times? Did you make it to the room in time, or did you have to run outside to get the water hose to help clean you off? Okay, so then you might have had just a limited amount of what? Coconut milk, right? And so if you've been to any Samoan's house, any Tongan's house, any Tahitian's house, or anybody from Micronesia, everybody, all of their food has what inside? Coconut milk, okay? So is that their way of cleaning out their system? Yes? No? You don't know? Okay, so as human beings, what is your method of cleaning out your system? Anyone? Is it just loading it up and not carry? Exercise will get things coming out? A lot of fiber? Okay, and that fiber would be what? Okay? Anyone else? Have you ever eaten castor bean? Anybody has taken castor oil? Is it delightful to take? Maybe just the smell will help you move everything fast, right? Okay, and so this is why I'm saying I hope that many of us, you know, like any sink or what, as you work with things that are oily, how many of you take the time to flush your entire drainage system? Anybody? You just wait till somebody else, it plugs up on them and say, it's your fault. Okay? And so, what I'm trying to say to all of you, have you checked your own plumbing system? When was the last time you had your clean out? Okay? Or are you going to wait till you start breaking out in what? Rash or other things on your body, then says, wow, what have I done? Okay? Now, how many of you have eaten taro? Okay, and how many meals have you eaten taro with? Are your taro boiled? Is it baked? Is it fried? What way do you prepare your taro? Okay, and so your way would be, the best way you've prepared yours is what? Coconut milk. Okay, and so is that a Hawaiian way, a Samoan way, a Tongan way, a Tahitian way, or your way? Okay, now, did Hawaiians ever eat taro with coconut milk? Yes, there's only one meal or one thing that they did, and it was what? If you made kulolo. You had to make kulolo. You have to have coconut milk to get to making that mixture with to make kulolo. Yes, another one would be what? Haupia. But then you're mixing it with what? Cornstarch, right? And you're adding sugar. Okay, so is there any other meals? And yes, it would be innovated, and that's what? Squid luau, right? But overall, how many more meals that you know of that are made with coconut milk? Okay, I can tell you because I lived for 3 years in Samoa, and every meal, I don't care what it is, you have that. And your first week there, you learn to run, okay? Because you're not just running from where you're at, you're running in the ocean. And so everybody waits, and when they hear the splash, they know what's happened to you, okay? Because you're going there to what? Wash off. Okay? Now, the same way with Tahitians, the same way with Tongans, Rotumans, and so on. Okay? They all have this coconut base-like thing in their meal. Okay? Now, another thing that I'd like to try and get across to all of you. Name a plant or something, a medicine that starts with the letter A. Would anybody say ava? And so is ava a real good medicine? All those of you who say it's a good medicine, put up your hand. One? And does that mean that you pledge in allegiance or you had your hands up? Oh. Okay? Now, how many of you say ava is good? One, two? Why? Because of the stupor you can go into? Okay. But how many of you know what it actually does to the body? Not only the heartbeat, but what? What happens to the brain cells? Okay? Keep drinking and you'll find out that slowly you'll forget everything. Okay? Maybe just not Alzheimer's, but no sense of thinking from then on. Because what happened? Your entire body goes what? Numb. Okay? And if you're doing that all night, you will sit there in that position because the only way you can move is they're going to have to carry you and put you on the bed. Other than that, you can't move once it takes over your entire body. Okay? Now, how many types of ava are there? One of the best collections is up at the Lions Arboretum, where this boy did his graduate project. And I think they have 20 varieties or more of the different avas that have been found here in Hawaii. Okay? But for a while, they had nobody leading tours over there, so I think it's open now, but some of you might go up there and check the Lions Arboretum. Okay? Now, I would say for this, okay, alaya would be, for me anyway, number one for A. Okay? But it's all up to you what you think it might be for you. Okay? For E, anybody can tell me a medicine that starts with the letter E? Nobody? Anybody knows what limu'ele'ele is? Okay? And so, the only thing is, limu'ele'ele is the hardest limu to clean. Okay? Because you have to, it's just like hair. You have to get all the slugs out of that. You have to get all the worms out of that. But whoever prepares it, when you get a bottle of it, treasure that because it's taken time to clean it. Okay? What's a medicine that starts with I? Nobody? Nobody knows a medicine that starts with I? My son was a sophomore at Kamehameha. He came home one day and said, Dad, I'm in the Science Institute class and I need to find something to research on, do chromatography and everything to find out what's medicinal about this plant. This plant that we went to find and everything, took him to the science fair. He won the state science fair. They flew him to the mainland. He won that one. And then they flew him to Europe and he won that one. What was the plant do you think he used to do that experiment? That starts with the letter I. Anybody here knows what the Ia is? What is Ia? Okay. Now, if many of you know, what is the mahioli? What is the mahioli? Okay, it's the helmet, right? It's the mahioli. But what is the frame of the mahioli made out of? Okay, from the Ia. Okay, and this is what most people think that's all the Ia was used for, that and for traps. Okay, that from that, as he did his experiments and everything, this is what kills cancer cells. Okay, and that's why it took him to, he won the state, he went to the mainland, won that, and even went to Europe. Okay, and so before he took off, I told him, son, take the car, go drive down to Waikiki, look at all the Hawaiian signs that you have, and write every name down. He said, why, Dad? It sounds stupid. I said, you'll find out. Because everybody wanted to find out what was the name. So he gave one, Kohio. And so Kalakaua, and all these Hawaiian names down in Waikiki. And so they went to the books to try and find Kalakaua, Kohio, and all of this, and couldn't find. Why? Because they wanted to know what was the name of that plant that he got. Okay? Now, how many of you know that here in Hawaii, you got everything that you need if you know how to go about finding it? So, what would you, if any of you need a medicine, what would be your route of trying to find out what is out there that will help me take care of what's wrong with me? Anybody here? Anybody?
Someone like you. I'd ask you. Call you.
So you're going to dial 0 and ask the operator? Okay. Now, what I'm trying to say is many of us have to learn to spend time in the outdoors. Okay? And so as you spend time in the outdoors, much of this might be, for some of you, maybe they call it meditation. For others, learning and spending time with that particular plant. Asking it permission. What part of you might be edible? What part of you might be medicinal? And if all I need to know just today, that if it's from your stems that I need to get it from, or for most medicine, would it come from the root system? Yes or no? So what is the storage place of any plant? What's that? Okay, it's in your root system, right? Because from there, it will go up to the leaves, but thanks to what? Photosynthesis and everything, you have that circulation taking place, but more the production of what? Chlorophyll, right? That circulates through the entire plant. But the storage center is still the root system. Okay? And so, to all of you, how many of you would go outside and say you can pick up 1, 2, or 3 medicines that are outside in your yard on this campus? What would be one of the first medicines any of you can find out there? What's that? The hibiscus? So what part of the hibiscus would you be picking? Okay. Now, how many of you have ever taken the red hibiscus and chewed on the petals? Many of you should try that. Okay? How many of you have taken the younger leaves of the hibiscus, not the ones that are real dark green, but lighter, and then you throw it in a batter and deep fry it? Okay? And that it's edible too in that sense. Okay? Now, many of you think, oh, that guy must come from the Stone Age, right? Okay? So, again, maybe you got to move to Maui and come back to the bush area, then you can find out all of these things. Okay? How many of you know how to look for yams? Anybody? If you're trying to find uhi, what kind of plant are you looking for? Anybody? A what? Okay, that's hoi. That's the wild yam, but it grows on the outside on the vine. How would you find the ones that are 6 feet long? Anyone? What would you be looking for? What kind of leaf formation would you be looking for if you're trying to find yams? Okay, a heart shape. Is it shiny? Is it dull? Okay, it's shiny and it has a lot of lines on it. Okay? Now, how many of you know what is pia? Anybody knows what pia is? In the morning when you get up, you have a lot. You see, you're still rubbing now, eh? Okay, what is pia? Anybody knows what pia is? No? What is arrowroot? Arrowroot is pia. Okay? Now, it's the same thing. If you take that and you scrape it, okay? As you scrape it and you put it in water, when you pour that water out, it will harden. What do you think you'll have there? Starch. Starch that you can add to thicken your gravy, starch that you can starch your clothes, and literally if you use that, your pants and everything can stand by itself when you starch it with that. Okay, that's how strong that starch is. Okay, but it's edible, and I don't know how many of you have had people, as you cook it, you know, it will turn like, almost like elastic, stretching and stuff like that. But that's edible too. Okay, so I guess for most of you, you had stores to go to, right? For us, to have something to eat, we had to go to the mountain or go to the ocean and find, okay? So down at the ocean, what are some other things you could pick up? Any of you picked up PPP? And how do you prepare that? You eat it raw. Okay? So how would you remove that covering of the PPP? Okay, hairpin or needle. Okay? And so how would it come out if it's not cooked? Okay? Okay, so PPP is just so big. What is the next one bigger than that? What is kupe'e? Anybody knows what kupe'e is? Not hupe now, kupe'e. Okay, and so you have brown and white ones, you have gray ones, you have black ones, and then you have different colors. And most people take that and they make shell lace. But if you eat the animal from inside the kupe'e, it's better than, you can have all the shells you want. I'd rather eat the stuff inside than have the shell. Okay? What else can you find down on the rocks? Opihi. Now, if it's black face, what does it mean? Anybody here can tell me. If the opihi is black, what makes it black? So many of you have not found opihi then in your life. Okay? Meaning that if it's black, it's not in water. Okay? If it's yellow face, that means that what? It's always in water. Okay? And so that's the difference. And so, how many of you would serve people black face type opihi? Okay? That you just hope they don't look right. They just put it in their mouth and eat it, right? Now, again, I guess all of you come to college to learn things from the book. Okay? I guess for most Hawaiians growing up, your education is down in the ocean, up in the mountain. So, what would be things in the river that any of you could eat? How many of you know what is hi'iwai? What is hi'iwai? Opihi? Okay. Who has not seen a hi'iwai in their life? Nobody? Okay. How many of you know the symbol for Shell service station? Okay. It's like that shell. And all you do is you put your thumb on the back pot, put that whole shell, and you can blow on it, and that's what whistles. Okay? But you hear that from your parents, you better hop, skip, and jump, because if you don't, the stick is coming next. Okay? So, any question? Any of you? Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Anyone? Go ahead, Professor. You look like you're smiling or you got something on your mind.
I'd like to mention that we did pass out the handouts to you as groups today because we didn't have enough for everyone. So we'd like to mahalo Kupuna Butch in advance and also Kala'i because she did make a lot of copies last minute for all of you. So at this point, please share them as a group. Kumunoa has a copy of everything. So you're welcome to get other copies from Kumunoa. Kupuna Butch has put together a very comprehensive set of works for all of you, which was very generous of him. He couldn't cover all of this in this lecture today, but I think the most important thing about today was the principles and values that he shared with you about the study of Lāʻau Lapaʻau and how we should really care for our kino. His personal stories are very important. You cannot find them in paper. You only get them because you're here today. So if you have another question, you're welcome to glance through the papers and ask him because we only have a few minutes left and then the next class will be coming in. Please feel free to ask him your questions and I believe he can know your telephone number.
Yeah, go ahead.
If we have any follow-up.
911.
If we have any follow-up, the telephone number is there. You can call him. You can get a hold of us at the Native Hawaiian Center for him as well. But please ask your questions now.
And let me just mention this too, okay? That much of this came from my great-grandfather, whose name was Charles Moses Kahino Nalani, Kamakavivoole. Okay? And my grandmother, Miriam, was his daughter. And there actually were 3 of them that all ended up with as teachers. My grandmother was Miriam. Then some of you know John Osorio. His mother is another Kamakavivoole. And then the other one was Mariah Tanaka. They all graduated, taught at Papaiko Elementary. But it's Big Kupuna that had all this knowledge. Okay? And so that's where it came from.
Oh, did you mention the Ka'ala trip? Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing on the Kala trip, how many of you here really want to go up there? Put up your hand. Up to Mount Ka'ala, the highest point here on this island. All those who want, put up your hands high. Okay? Now, the only thing is we need to find people who have 4x4s. Okay? Because to getting up there, if you go up with a standard car, you can burn your brakes, you can burn your clutch coming down. Okay, and that's why you need a 4x4. The forestry department will probably get two vehicles, but you cannot sit on the roof unless you can hold a tire and join us going up there. Okay, but if you can find people or friends that have a 4x4, but then you be responsible of who's going to ride with you. Okay, so think about that, and as soon as I get a confirmation from my friend, I can let her know, and then she can, let you folks know.
So anybody who's interested in going, would you please sign here with your name, for daytime phone number, and an email. And we'll contact you when we have the date. And if there are enough students that are going, there's a possibility we can actually rent a few four-wheel drives, okay, and drive you folks up. But also, if we're gonna go up to watch the mist rise like we did the last time, it's a 4 o'clock in the morning start, okay? Because you need to get up there by 5:30, because the mist is gone after 5:30, okay? So you have to be committed to meeting about 4:30 in the morning. Everybody gathers. We do hula, we make sure who's there. We do a head count before we leave. We have to do a long huaka'i to Mokuleia side. We have to meet military personnel down on the bottom. It's all in the dark. We go through Mokuleia side. We have to go through several gates. So Uncle Butch's cousin takes us up there. So it's a very early morning. So the last time we had signed up, about 20 students signed up, and maybe about 3 actually showed up.
It's just a 1 day.
It's a 1-day thing, yeah. So, and we'll probably just do Ka'ala this time. The last time we went to Ka'ena, it was a really long day. But so you have to commit to getting up early and meeting, okay? And it's a wonderful experience to be there when the mist rises.
And
Yes.
Is there a limit? How many people, is there a limit to number of people?
A limit, I think as long as we have enough cars to take people up. So based on who signs up today and how many cars, we're limited by how many cars we can get. We rented 3 last time, and we could take about 5 people in each car. Some people brought their own four-wheel drives, and like Uncle Butch said, there's a couple other cars. So we took about 30 people with us the last time. That's probably about as much as I would want to go with. So I would cap it at 30. But there aren't that many people that are willing to get up that early in the morning. But if you are, it's well worth it, because you're not always able to go up. And because Uncle Butch has such wonderful connections, we don't have to get permits. We don't have to. All we want people to do is sign a waiver, a liability waiver, and then everything else is just really a blessing. So sign up on the sheet that's going around, and give me your contact name and your email and your phone number. Okay? And we'll get back to you with a date.
And again, we'd like to mention that this is actually sort of a once-in-a-lifetime situation if you can make it. He's really making himself available for all of us, our school, our family, our friends that are here. And we want to mahalo him because it's getting that time where we have to wrap it up. Kama?
Yeah.
Okay, so on your way out, you can just leave your eval with me. I'll take the evals. Thank you for coming.
Please, would you give him a round of applause? And